10 years from now, when somebody finally writes the honest history of this era in rap, they will not lead with the music. They will not lead with the beef. They will not lead with the lawsuits or the lyrics or even the lineup. They will lead with a timestamp. One single timestamp. 12:01 in the morning. The exact minute Drake stopped being an artist and quietly turned himself into a spreadsheet. Because that is what happened. Whether the people clapping right now realize it or not, the moment 3 albums dropped under one rollout was not a creative decision, it was a confession. And the longer you sit with it, the louder that confession gets. So before we get into how exactly Drake just walked himself into the worst trap of his career, please do me one favor. Tap that like button, subscribe if you have not yet, comment the word receipts so the algorithm sees this. I am genuinely going to need the help on this one, because what we are about to lay out, nobody else is willing to say out loud. They are too busy yelling about who won the beef. They are missing the actual crime scene. Let me set the picture for you, because the chaos of that night made a lot of people miss what actually happened. Iceman was supposed to be the comeback, the longest wait of his entire solo career. Almost 3 years without a proper body of work. Episode 4 of the rollout was treated like a Marvel premiere. Fireworks in Toronto. Shane Gillis showing up like a guest star in a sitcom that forgot to write a punchline. Academics finally getting an OVO chain like a kid getting drafted into a fantasy league. And then, instead of just dropping Iceman, Drake quietly slides 2 more entire albums into the conversation. Maid of Honor, Habibti, 43 songs in one night under one label. UMG, Republic, the same machine he is publicly at war with, the same executives he is suing, the same building he keeps insisting wants him dead. And somehow, the same fans who spent 2 years complaining that Drake needed to focus are now celebrating him for losing focus on purpose. That is the magic trick. That is the sleight of hand. While everybody is staring at the size of the release, nobody is checking the math underneath it. Nobody is asking who actually wins when one artist drops 43 songs in a single 12-hour window. Spoiler, it is not the listener. Now here is the part nobody on YouTube is willing to explain to you in plain words. 3 albums in one night is not generosity. It is not ambition. It is not a Frank Ocean move, because Frank actually escaped his label, and Drake is still chained to his. 3 albums in one night is a chart laundering operation. That is the technical term for it. You flood the platforms with so many tracks that every single song scrapes onto the Hot 100 purely because your fans have to stream them just to keep up. Morgan Wallen already proved this works. He pushed 38 songs onto the chart in 1 week with a streaming filler tape that nobody actually digested. Drake just looked at that number, said "hold my chain," and shoved 43 songs into a single rollout. If even half of them chart, he breaks the Billboard record. If all of them chart, he gets a headline that reads, "First artist since Michael Jackson in 2009 to own the top 3 albums on the Billboard 200. And right there, in that one sentence, the whole illusion finishes building itself. He does not need a hit. He does not need a moment. He does not need a song you and your friends scream in the car. He just needs the headline to look like a moment. The headline is the song. The chart placement is the music video. That is the entire strategy stripped down to the bones. And once you see the strategy, you also see who it is aimed at. It is not aimed at fans. It is not aimed at critics. It is aimed at a very specific reader, the casual person flipping through their phone tomorrow morning who sees the words Drake, history, Billboard, 3 albums, 43 songs, and accepts the headline as truth without reading the article. That casual reader is the entire target market for this rollout. Not you, not the actual listener, the skim reader, the headline scroller, the person who decides whether Drake is winning based on a screenshot. Drake is no longer making albums for people who play albums. He is making albums for people who screenshot albums. And once you understand that, every single weird decision around this rollout starts making the same kind of cold sense as a tax loophole. The art is not the art. The art is the receipt. But to really understand why this is so devastating, you have to rewind one more time, because Drake has actually run this exact playbook before, and the receipts are sitting in plain sight. 2018, Scorpion, a bloated double album split into a rap side and an R&B side, dropped right after the Pusha T situation embarrassed him in front of the entire culture. What did Scorpion do? It buried the conversation. Every blog, every podcast, every casual fan had so much new music to argue about that the actual L he took quietly slid into the rear view. Nobody was talking about Adidon anymore. They were talking about song count, streaming records, and that summer hit. The wound got covered by volume. So now look at this current moment. He just spent 2 years getting cooked by Kendrick on the biggest rap record of the entire decade. Not Like Us is not just a hit, it is a culture stamp. It won Grammys, it got performed at the Super Bowl, it became the bar that every artist in his generation now has to clear. And Drake's response is to dust off the Scorpion playbook, multiply it by 1.5, and pray nobody notices the pattern. But the pattern is the entire story. When an artist runs the same defensive strategy twice, that is not creativity, that is a coping mechanism with a release date. And once you see that, the lyrics on Iceman start reading like a diary instead of an album. Track 5 is literally called Ran to Atlanta. That is a Not Like Us line. He named a song on his own comeback album after a bar from the diss track that humiliated him. Read that sentence twice. Slow it down in your head. He is so far inside Kendrick's head, he cannot even title his own music without quoting the man he is supposed to be over. The biggest fan in the room right now, the one defending him in the comments, is rapping back a Kendrick Lamar bar and calling it Drake's best song. That is the level of cognitive collapse happening in real time. Then there is Too Hard for the Radio. The whole record is built on the same West Coast bounce Mustard used on Not Like Us, same rhythm pocket, same regional palette. Drake spends the first half of the song sounding almost normal, almost restrained, and then the back half collapses into him screaming Kendrick's name, mocking his height, calling out Mustard, and explaining to the West Coast how a West Coast banger is supposed to sound, from Toronto to Compton with a ketchup-beat, while Kendrick already has the mustard. You cannot script this level of self-own. You really cannot. Even the writer's room of a satire show would tell you to dial it back because nobody would believe it. And then come the streaming numbers bars. Drake actually wrote entire sections accusing Kendrick of losing 100 million streams on Luther. That stat came from a parody account. It was never real. It was debunked the same week it went viral. But Drake either doesn't know that or he knows and doesn't care because his audience is not going to fact-check him. They are going to scream the bar back at the screen. And by the time the Iceman Episode 4 live stream ends, the camera quietly drifts into a fake bot farm where the visual implication is that Not Like Us was a botted song. The biggest rap record of the decade, botted, according to a man whose own roster has been accused of exactly that for years. The projection is so loud you can hear it through the mix. It is the kind of accusation only somebody losing badly would build a set piece around. You do not need a bot farm visual if you are winning. You build the bot farm visual because you cannot accept that the song really was that good. Let me sit on the bot farm a little longer because it is genuinely the most revealing moment of the entire rollout. Think about the production budget that went into that single shot. Storyboarding, set design, lighting, multiple monitors with custom graphics, camera operators, editors, color grading, a whole crew showing up to work to bring this idea to life. And the idea is what exactly? The idea is that Drake, the most commercially successful rapper of his generation, paid a film crew to visually argue that the song that beat him was fake. He turned cope into cinema. He gave Petty a budget. And here's the painful part. The crew probably knew. The director probably knew. The editor cutting that sequence absolutely knew. But the check cleared. And so the bot farm exists now, forever, on the internet, as a permanent monument to a man who could not let go. So now zoom back out. What was actually released that night was not 3 albums. It was one giant smokescreen with 3 names on it. And here is where the unique angle finally clicks into place. Everybody is so locked on Drake versus Kendrick that they keep missing the real villain of this story. The villain is not Kendrick. Kendrick already won. The villain is not even Drake. Drake is the symptom. The villain is the algorithm, the streaming machine, the Hot 100 chart logic that rewards volume over vision, the Spotify model that pays per stream regardless of whether the stream was a real human moment or a passive playlist refresh at 4 in the morning, the TikTok loop that pays the artist nothing but trains the audience to consume music in 15-second slivers. That machine is the only thing on earth that benefits from a 43-song rollout. The fans don't benefit, the art doesn't benefit, the culture doesn't benefit. Even Drake's legacy doesn't benefit. The only winner in a 43-song week is the platform that gets to bill itself as the home of the biggest rollout in history. And Drake just handed them that win on a silver platter, while convincing his own audience it was for them. This is the part that should genuinely worry every rap fan who actually loves the genre, because once this strategy works, it becomes the new floor. Every major label artist with a wounded ego will copy it. Future drops a triple album, Travis drops a triple album, Migos members do solo triple albums. Suddenly, an album is not an album anymore. It is a chart attack. The body of work becomes a body count. Listening becomes homework. Caring becomes optional. And in 5 years, when somebody asks you what the best Drake album of this era is, nobody will be able to answer, because there is no album to point to. There is a list, a really long list, and lists do not survive history. Albums do. Thriller survives because it was 9 tracks. Good Kid, Mad City survives because it was 12 tracks. Take Care survives because Drake himself, the same man, used to understand the value of curation. He used to put songs on the cutting room floor. Now he is taping the cutting room floor to the album and selling it back to you as a director's cut. And the most painful piece of this entire situation is the label civil war happening in the background while the fans are dancing. Every one of those 3 albums is under UMG, Republic, the same Lucian Grange machine Drake has been publicly dragging for months. He is dissing the very company pressing his CDs, distributing his streams, paying for his promotion, and clearing his samples. There is no precedent for this in modern music. Frank Ocean walked, Taylor Swift re-recorded, Kanye burned bridges and built new ones. Drake is doing something stranger. He is staying inside the building and lighting matches in every hallway, hoping the smoke alarms break before the lawyers do. And his lawsuit only makes this weirder. He is suing the machine. He is also feeding the machine. He is taking it to court while begging it for chart placement. That is not a strategy. That is a man drowning in 2 pools at once and asking which one has better water pressure. And while we're talking about contradictions, let us not skip the Future and J. Cole situation, because this might be the loudest one on the entire rollout. Drake will work with Future, Drake will perform with Future, Drake will let Future climb back into the booth with him as if nothing ever happened. But remember what Future actually did. Future is the one who made Like That, the song with Kendrick, the first match that started this entire fire, the exact record that put Drake in the position to get humiliated. And Drake forgave that. Drake co-signed that. They're buddies again. Meanwhile, J. Cole, the man who literally apologized on stage in front of an audience, the man who pulled his diss off streaming because he did not want the smoke, that guy is the one Drake refuses to be in the same room with. Read that lineup again. The arsonist gets a feature. The firefighter gets cut off. That is not a code. That is not loyalty. That is a man picking the easier opponent to forgive so he can keep the harder grudge alive for content. You only forgive who you cannot beat. You only stay mad at who you can still bully. The math on this is brutal once you do it out loud. Now let me say the quiet part. You can love Drake and still admit this. You can have grown up on So Far Gone, on Take Care, on Nothing Was the Same, and still say out loud that the man who made those records would never have approved this rollout. The old Drake understood that an album was a moment, a frame, a single statement you let breathe. The current Drake is publishing tweets in album form and asking us to call it music. And he is doing it because he is scared. That is the part the toxic positivity crowd will never let themselves say. He is scared that if he releases just one album, just 12 clean tracks, the comparison to Not Like Us happens in real time and there is nowhere to hide. So he dumps 43 songs on the floor and dares you to find a single coherent statement inside the pile. That is not confidence, that is camouflage. That is a man hiding inside his own discography. And here is where the Iceman album title actually starts mocking him back. The cover is a glove, a clear nod to Michael Jackson, a reach for the kind of #1 record Michael used to put up in his sleep. But to get there, Drake needed every fan to lock in on one song and push it to the top. Instead, he handed those same fans 43 different reference points, decentralized his own attention, diluted his own pitch. The very strategy he built to look like the king is the strategy that makes a king impossible. Because kings have a flag. He just handed everyone a pile of confetti and asked them to call it a flag. The billboard might still give him the number, sure, but the culture knows the difference between a record that ruled the summer and a record that rented the chart for a week. And right about here is where I have to be honest with you. The longer I sat with this rollout, the more I realized the cruelest twist of the whole story. The man who keeps screaming about authenticity, about real rap, about who is actually from the streets and who is not, just released the most corporate album rollout in the history of his genre. 3 projects, 1 label, 43 tracks, engineered for chart manipulation, wrapped in spite, marketed with fireworks, performed in a live stream stage set, and then the artist sues the system while begging the system for the trophy. If you put that paragraph in front of 2015 Drake, he would have written a diss track about the guy he just became. That is not a hot take. That is the math of this rollout. The villain at the end of this story is the version of himself he refused to let go of. He is in a beef with his own old discography, and he is losing badly. Let me also tell you what's going to happen next, because once you see the playbook, you can see the next move from a mile away. Within a week, the numbers come in. Some of those 43 songs chart, maybe most of them. The headlines hit, Drake makes history, the OVO socials go victory lap mode, memes get posted. Then, about 10 to 14 days later, the conversation quietly fades. Because there is no anchor song, there is no center of gravity. Nobody can name the best track on Iceman without arguing with 3 other fans about it. Streaming drops off a cliff, the album starts sinking faster than Honestly Nevermind did, except this time spread across 3 projects, so the fall looks softer in any individual chart. And then comes the predictable next move, a surprise single, a guest verse on Somebody Hotter, a leaked snippet, anything to remind the algorithm he's still here. Because Drake's relationship with the public is now identical to a Twitch streamer's relationship with chat. He has to keep posting or the room empties. The 43 songs are not the album, they are the lifeline. And let me give you one more piece nobody is connecting yet, because this is the kind of detail that only makes sense once the dust settles. Pay attention to the production credits on Iceman. Pay attention to who is missing, not who is on the album, who is not on the album. 40. The number is right there. 40 is a producer Drake leaned on for years to build his most successful records. The man who scored Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. If you're reading this, it's too late. The entire spine of Drake's mythology. And on the biggest rollout of his career, the comeback he has been teasing for almost 3 years, that name is barely on the project. That is not a coincidence. That is a fingerprint. When the architect of your golden era is not in the room for your supposed return to form, the building you are presenting to the public is not the building you used to live in. It is a set, a facade. The wallpaper is new, the doors do not open, and the lights have to stay on because if anyone wandered inside, they would notice the rooms are empty. That is what 43 songs without your signature producer actually means. The math is hollow, the blueprint is borrowed, and the man holding the keys to the original sound has quietly stepped off stage while the world claps for an impersonation. So where does this leave Kendrick? The funny thing is, Kendrick does not even have to respond. He already won by being absent. Every single bar Drake aimed at him on Iceman only proves the obsession is one way. Kendrick is not titling songs after Drake lines. Kendrick is not building a fake bot farm in a live stream. Kendrick is not screaming at a Toronto crowd that he is the West Coast now. Kendrick is sitting somewhere, probably with his daughter, probably with a coffee, watching 43 songs about him failed to land a single blow. That silence is louder than anything Drake could put on a track list. And the longer Kendrick stays quiet, the more every Iceman lyric ages like milk in the sun. Because a diss only works if the target flinches. Right now, the target is napping. The diss tracks are talking to themselves. 43 songs aimed at a man who has not picked up the phone. That is not a war. That is a voicemail nobody is checking. And here's the part I want you to actually take with you when you leave this video. When you see headlines this week that say Drake made history, when you see the streaming numbers screenshotted all over X, when the OVO accounts start running victory laps with album sales charts in pastel colors, remember what you are actually looking at. You are looking at a chart laundering operation. You were looking at a man who could not write his way out of a beef, so he tried to flood his way out of it. You were looking at the exact moment a generational artist stopped trusting his own pen. And 10 years from now, when the documentaries get made, the timestamp on this turning point will be 12:01 in the morning. The fireworks will look smaller in the archive footage, the merch will look corny in the B-roll, and the only line anyone will quote from this entire era will not be from Iceman, it will be from Not Like Us, because that is the song that forced all of this. Every fan dancing to Iceman tonight is, whether they admit it or not, dancing to the gravitational pull of a record Kendrick Lamar made 2 years ago.
And one final thing before I let you go, because this part might be the most important. None of what I just said matters if the audience does not learn to read it. The whole reason this strategy works in the first place is that most listeners stop at the headline. They see Drake won, they see Drake broke a record, they see Drake topped Billboard, and they close the tab. They never ask how, they never ask why, they never ask who actually benefits. So if there is one thing I want you to leave this video with, it is this. Stop letting the number tell you the story. Read the rollout, watch the rollout, time the rollout, ask who is dancing, who is silent, who is suing who, and who quietly was not invited to the room. That is where the truth lives. The chart is a billboard. The chart is not the song. And the day you stop confusing one for the other is the day you become a real fan instead of a passive scroll. And actually, before I close this out, let me leave you with one last piece of context that ties the whole knot. The reason this story matters beyond Drake, beyond Kendrick, beyond OVO and TDE is that we are watching the modern blueprint for fame collapse in real time. The artist used to be the product. Now the rollout is the product. The artist is a logo printed on top of the rollout. And once you accept that, you can predict the next 10 years of pop music without breaking a sweat. More volume, more noise, fewer songs you can hum from memory, fewer albums that feel like a place. And one day, somebody brave will release just one record, 12 tracks, no rollout, no theatrics, no fireworks, and that will be the new revolution. Until that day, treat every triple album drop the way you would treat a too good to be true email. Read the fine print, follow the money, and never let the headline do your listening for you. That is the only way to stay free in a world built to keep you scrolling. Go comment. See you in the next one. So tell me what you actually think. Forget the OVO talking points. Forget the toxic positivity. Forget the Reddit threads. Drop a comment with one word, just one. Type the word receipts if you saw the chart laundering for what it is. Type the word loyal if you still believe Drake is moving from a place of strength. Type the word silence if you think Kendrick is making the smartest move in the entire situation by saying nothing. I am reading every single one of them because this is the conversation we should have been having 2 weeks ago, before the fireworks turned everybody's brain off. And before you go, here's the loop. If you want the full breakdown of Make Them Remember, the track Drake quietly retitled at the last minute that contains some of the wildest contradictions on the entire Iceman album, that breakdown is sitting in the suggested video right next to this one. It picks up exactly where this leaves off. Tap it, watch it, then come back and tell me if your read on this whole rollout changes. Because the more pieces you stack, the clearer this picture gets. And the clearer it gets, the harder it is to unsee. I will see you in the next one.